Captain Ethan Ryland stood at the edge of the jagged cliffs of Xyler 7, staring down at the glowing valleys below. The planet was known for its rare minerals and harsh landscapes. As the leader of a human exploration team, Ethan had visited many dangerous planets before, but something about this place felt different. The air was thick, almost heavy, carrying a strange hum that vibrated through the rocks. "Ethan, the scanners are picking up something unusual," said Mara. His co-pilot, her voice tense over the comlink. "There's a force field deep in that canyon. It's not natural." Ethan squinted at the canyon below. Most humans would have turned back at the first sign of danger, but he had always believed that curiosity and courage were the best tools a human could carry. "Prepare the hover unit," he replied. "We're going down." The canyon was narrower than it looked from above, with jagged walls that glowed faintly in the planet's strange light. As their hover unit descended, Ethan noticed strange patterns carved into the cliffs, almost like symbols, glowing faintly in a pale blue. "I've never seen anything like this," he muttered, running his fingers along the edge of the control panel. "Could be ancient. Or a trap," Mara raised an eyebrow. "Knowing your luck, it's probably both." Ethan ignored her teasing. His attention was on the faint shimmer ahead, the force field. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Whoever or whatever was inside wanted to be hidden. That only made Ethan more determined. The hover unit landed on a flat ledge near the canyon's entrance. Ethan jumped out carrying his scanning device. He moved closer to the force field, noting its unusual energy readings. Humans had encountered many alien technologies before, but this one was different. It was intricate, delicate, and alive in a strange way. Suddenly, a faint voice echoed from inside the force field. It was soft, almost like a whisper, but clear enough to send shivers down Ethan's spine. "Please, help me." Ethan froze. He hadn't expected anyone to be inside. Most alien technology was abandoned, forgotten, or deadly, but this voice was desperate, human in its emotion even if not human in origin. He took a deep breath. "I'm coming," he said almost to himself. He approached the force field slowly, careful not to trigger any alarms. His scanner picked up a life form trapped inside, and then he saw her. The alien princess, no older than 20 Earth years in human terms, was suspended in a glowing energy cage. Her skin shimmered faintly, a mix of silver and lavender, and her large bright eyes reflected fear and disbelief. Her delicate hands reached toward him, trembling. Who are you?" she asked, her voice shaky but strong in its own way. "I'm Ethan Ryland. I'm human," he replied calmly, holding up his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm here to help you." She studied him, suspicion written across her face. "A human? Why would a human come to help me?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Because no one deserves to be trapped like this. I've seen a lot in my life, but I never saw someone as courageous as you seem to be. Courage. It doesn't care what species you are." For a moment, the Princess Liara hesitated. Her people, the Zetherians, were known for their pride and intelligence, and most had never trusted humans. Her family had taught her that humans were unpredictable, often reckless, and rarely able to survive in alien worlds without guidance. And yet, something in Ethan's calm determination made her hesitate in a different way. Ethan scanned the energy cage carefully. The containment device was unlike anything humans had ever seen. It pulsed with life energy, reacting to Liara's movements, keeping her suspended in mid-air. But Ethan noticed a pattern. The energy pulses were rhythmic, predictable. If he timed it right, he could disrupt the field without harming her. "Step back," he said to Liara gently. "It's okay. I need a little space to work." She hesitated, then nodded slowly. Her trust wasn't given freely, but her survival depended on it. Ethan opened his portable toolkit, pulling out a device that emitted a counter-frequency to the energy field. He adjusted it carefully, watching the pulses of the cage respond. Sweat dripped down his forehead, but he remained calm. Humans often thrived under pressure. It was a strength built from generations of survival and innovation. After tense moments, the energy field flickered. The cage's pulsing slowed, and then it collapsed entirely. Liara floated down, landing gracefully on the rocky ground. For a moment, she just stared at Ethan, her breathing heavy, her eyes wide with disbelief. You freed me," she whispered. "I did." "Are you okay?" Ethan asked, keeping his tone gentle. He knew she had to feel safe. I think so," she said slowly. I did not expect help from a human. I never imagined it. Ethan shrugged, a small grin on his face. Humans are full of surprises. Liara studied him carefully, curiosity replacing some of her fear. Why do you help me? If my people knew you did this, some would see it as impossible, Ethan thought for a moment. Because it's the right thing to do. And because no matter who you are, everyone deserves a chance to survive. You're not just any alien, I can see that. You're strong, clever, and brave. Liara's lips pressed into a thin line. She wasn't used to praise, especially from outsiders. But Ethan's words felt genuine. Something in his voice, his calm determination, told her that he meant every word. Before they could speak further, a loud rumble echoed through the canyon. The ground shook violently, and Ethan knew they weren't alone. Scanners confirmed it. Alien drones, patrol units, or some kind of automated security system were closing in. We need to move, Ethan said immediately, grabbing a small pack with essential supplies. Can you walk? Liara nodded, her gaze sharp and determined. Yes, I can. But I've never run this far. Then let's start now, he replied. Humans thrived in unknown situations, and Ethan knew that speed, creativity, and courage were their best tools. Together they ran along the narrow canyon paths, dodging falling rocks and avoiding energy sensors. Ethan guided Liara through shortcuts he noticed, showing her ways a human mind could see that her trained eyes might miss. During the journey, Liara began to realize something remarkable. Humans were not just strong or reckless, they were adaptive. Ethan used quick thinking, improvisation, and intuition to solve problems that even advanced alien technology had created. He bridged gaps, disabled minor traps, and guided her safely past dangerous zones. Each time, Liara's respect for him grew. Finally, after hours of careful movement, they reached a safer area, a plateau overlooking the glowing valleys. Both were exhausted but alive. Liara turned to Ethan, her silver lavender eyes reflecting a mix of wonder, disbelief, and something unfamiliar. Hope. You really are different, she said quietly. I never imagined a human would come for me. Ethan smiled faintly, looking at the alien horizon. Humans aren't perfect. We make mistakes. But when it matters, we try. And we survive. Often in ways no one expects. For the first time, Liara felt a spark of trust, small but real. The human before her had risked his life, defied unknown dangers, and saved her when no one else could. Perhaps, just perhaps, humans were more than she had been taught to believe. As night fell over Xylar 7, the two of them sat on the plateau, overlooking the shimmering valleys. Danger still loomed and the path ahead was uncertain, but in that quiet moment, an unspoken bond began to form, one that would challenge the prejudices of worlds and prove that courage, compassion, and determination were not limited to a single species. For Ethan, it was just another day of exploration. For Liara, it was the first time in her life that someone from another world had truly seen her. Not as a princess, not as a captive, but as a being worth saving. And in that shared understanding, the seeds of trust, respect, and a remarkable alliance were quietly planted. An alliance that would change the fate of both humans and Zetherians forever. The glow of Xylar 7's twin moons painted the jagged cliffs in shades of silver and blue. Captain Ethan Rylan and Princess Liara moved cautiously along a narrow canyon path, their shadows stretching long across the rocky terrain. Every sound echoed unnaturally in the canyon, and the hum of the planet's strange energy made the air feel heavy. Ethan kept his hand near the compact plasma blaster strapped to his hip, though he hoped not to use it. Liara, though unarmed, walked beside him with a grace that betrayed both fear and determination. Despite her initial hesitation to trust him, she had come to rely on his instincts and human ingenuity. Do you know where we're going? Liara asked quietly, her voice almost blending with the whispering winds. Ethan glanced down at his scanner. Not exactly, but I know a safe zone a few kilometers ahead. If we can reach it before dawn, we'll have a chance to rest. Liara frowned. Safe from whom? Ethan's gaze hardened. From anyone who would keep you trapped. There are patrol drones, automated defenses, and likely bounty hunters after you. Your people's rivals don't want you alive. Her eyes widened slightly. They would want me dead? Not want, need. To control the Empire, they have to remove the rightful heir. Ethan explained calmly. But right now we need to focus on surviving the night. The canyon twisted and narrowed, forcing them to move carefully. Ethan took the lead, using his scanner to detect hidden traps. Every step could trigger a sensor. Every misstep could alert the drones. But humans had a talent for thinking on their feet, and Ethan's eyes scanned the terrain constantly, looking for signs that the others might miss. "Watch out," Ethan whispered, stepping aside just as a jagged rock shifted under Liara's foot. The rock would have triggered a hidden pressure sensor, activating a defensive energy burst. Liara froze for a moment, staring at the ground in disbelief. You saw that coming?" she asked, her voice trembling. Ethan gave a small grin. "Humans notice patterns. We predict danger. Sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's experience. Either way, it works." Liara shook her head slowly, realizing that humans were far more adaptable than she had been taught. Her people often relied on technology and formal training, but Ethan relied on instinct, intuition, and quick thinking. They had walked for almost an hour when a sudden, shrill alarm echoed through the canyon. Red lights flashed along the cliff walls, and the air shimmered as a squad of hovering drones emerged from hidden alcoves. The drones' designs were sleek and alien, with rotating energy emitters that glowed faintly red. "Run!" Ethan shouted, grabbing Liara's hand. Humans often fought when cornered, but running was just as effective when the odds were against them. They sprinted through the twisting canyon paths, leaping over jagged rocks and sliding under low-hanging formations. Ethan guided Liara through shortcuts, using knowledge of alien physics and terrain to outmaneuver the drones. The machines were fast, precise, and unrelenting, but humans had one advantage: unpredictability. Ethan led them into a narrow tunnel, barely wide enough for two. The drones hesitated, their sensors struggling to adjust to the tight space. Ethan pressed his back against the wall, holding Liara close. She looked at him, a mixture of fear and admiration in her eyes. "You're incredible," she whispered. "Humans survive," he said simply, his breath steady despite the adrenaline. "We find ways when there seem to be none." The tunnel opened onto a plateau overlooking a glowing valley filled with strange, luminescent plants. The light from the vegetation was soft but bright enough to navigate without their flashlights. Ethan led Liara down a steep slope, careful not to alert any more patrols. Once they reached the valley floor, Ethan motioned for Liara to crouch behind a large rock. "Rest for a moment. We're not completely safe yet, but this area gives us cover." Liara sank to the ground, her knees shaking. I never imagined a human would help me like this," she admitted, her voice low. "Back home, most would have left me to die." Ethan sat beside her, adjusting his scanner to monitor the surroundings. "Humans, we have our faults. But we also have courage. Sometimes we help because it's the right thing, not because it benefits us. You're not just someone to save, Liara. You're someone who deserves a chance to live and fight." Liara studied him in silence, realizing that his words carried weight. Humans weren't like the Zetharians she had known, predictable, formal, and constrained by protocol. They were bold, flexible, and willing to take risks that others wouldn't. She had underestimated them, and now she was beginning to see their true strength. "Tell me about your people," Ethan said gently, trying to shift the conversation. "I want to understand who I'm helping." Liara hesitated. "The Zetharians. We were once rulers of a vast empire. We are intelligent, strong, and proud, but that pride also makes us vulnerable. My family was betrayed, overthrown by rivals who wanted power for themselves. I was captured, left to die in this canyon." Ethan nodded. "I see. And they didn't expect anyone to find you?" "Not a human," she said softly. "We have underestimated humans for centuries. Most believe we are superior, and that humans cannot survive in alien worlds without guidance. Yet, here you are." Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans often surprise others. We don't give up easily. We adapt, we survive. And sometimes we save lives we didn't have to." The two shared a quiet moment, the hum of the glowing valley around them. For a while they simply rested, listening to the strange alien sounds and letting their bodies recover from the exhausting escape. But danger was never far away. From the shadows of the valley, Ethan's scanner detected movement, smaller drones faster and more agile than the first. "We need to move again," he said quietly, helping Liara to her feet. She nodded, determination in her eyes. "Lead the way." As they ran through the luminescent valley, Ethan began to notice patterns in the drone's movements. They were coordinated but predictable in their timing. Humans had a gift for improvisation. and he began setting subtle traps using rocks and debris to mislead the drones. Each diversion allowed them to gain distance, though the machines remained persistent. Liara watched in amazement. Your mind. It works differently, faster, sharper. You see things we wouldn't notice. Ethan glanced at her. Humans survive by noticing what others ignore. By thinking ahead. By taking chances when no one else dares. They paused briefly at a small stream, the water glowing faintly in the alien light. Liara knelt, cupping water in her hands. I never thought I would see kindness like this from a human, she said softly, drinking the cool water. Kindness, Ethan said, is just one part of survival, but it matters more than most realize. Night turned toward dawn, and the pale light of Xylar 7's sun began to creep over the horizon. The drones had been left behind, deterred by Ethan's clever tactics. The valley seemed safer now, but the journey was far from over. Ethan turned to Liara, brushing some dust from her shoulders. We'll make it. Humans are good at surviving, and I think, together we can survive almost anything. Liara looked at him, her silver lavender eyes reflecting a mix of gratitude, curiosity, and something new, trust. For the first time in days, she felt hope. The human beside her was more than a rescuer. He was a partner, someone who could see her not just as a princess, but as a living being worth saving. As the sun rose, they set off toward a distant ridge where Ethan had spotted signs of an abandoned rebel outpost. The path would be difficult, but with each step, Liara's confidence in humans and in Ethan grew. She had never imagined that the species she had once dismissed as weak could possess such courage, adaptability, and cleverness. In the distance, strange silhouettes moved across the hills, predators native to Xylar 7 drawn to the glowing valley. Ethan and Liara froze, watching the creatures carefully. Stay close, Ethan whispered. They might be dangerous, but humans are clever. We find ways to avoid danger, and sometimes we even turn it to our advantage. Liara nodded, her heart pounding with both fear and anticipation. She realized that survival on this alien planet was not just about strength or technology. It was about adaptability, courage, and trust. And with Ethan by her side, she began to feel that even the impossible might be possible. The two continued their journey through the alien wilderness, each step a test of endurance and courage. And as the valley glowed around them, they began to form a bond that would not only determine their survival, but would change the way two species saw each other forever. The first rays of Xylar 7's sun crept over the jagged horizon, illuminating the alien landscape in pale gold and lavender. Captain Ethan Rylan and Princess Liara had made it through the glowing valley, their bodies weary but spirits determined. The night had been perilous, but they had survived. Now, as they approached a distant ridge, the promise of safety, and perhaps allies, drove them forward. This looks like it, Ethan said, pointing to a cluster of abandoned structures partially hidden by rock formations. The buildings were sleek and metallic, clearly alien but showing signs of age and wear. Could be a rebel outpost. We'll find cover, rest, and maybe get some information. Liara's eyes widened. Rebels, you mean? My people who are still fighting? Possibly. And if we can find them, they might help us plan what comes next, Ethan replied. Humans had a habit of taking risks when others hesitated, and he sensed that the rebel faction would be cautious but receptive if approached correctly. As they descended toward the outpost, they noticed faint movement. Ethan held up a hand, signaling Liara to stop. Using his portable scanner, he detected small life forms hiding near the perimeter. Humans were adept at spotting patterns others missed, and Ethan's quick mind processed the information instantly. They're refugees, he whispered, likely hiding from the same forces hunting you. Liara studied the figures through the binoculars she had borrowed from Ethan. So, not all my people are loyal to the usurpers. Some still fight quietly, Ethan nodded. Exactly. And we might be able to join forces, but we need to approach carefully. They don't know us. The two approached slowly, hands visible, displaying trust. Liara's presence as the rightful heir gave weight to their approach, but it was Ethan's calm, confident manner that reassured the hidden figures. A few moments later, a tall Zetherian man emerged from the shadows, his armor scratched and worn. Who are you? He demanded, voice firm but not hostile. Another spy? I am Ethan Rylan, Ethan replied calmly. And this is Princess Liara. I'm here to help her reach those who are loyal to her. The man's eyes widened in recognition at the mention of Liara's name. He lowered his weapon slightly, his tone softening. "Princess, you are alive?" Liara nodded. "I am, and I need allies. But I also need to trust the human who brought me here." Ethan stepped forward. "I'm not here for politics. I'm here to ensure she survives and that your people survive too. Humans have a way of adapting, of solving problems others think impossible. That's what I bring to the table." The man studied Ethan carefully, clearly skeptical, but something in Ethan's gaze convinced him. "Very well, follow me. But one wrong move and you answer to me." Inside the outpost, the refugees, humans and Zetherians alike, watched in awe. Liara felt a wave of emotion she hadn't allowed herself before. This was a group still resisting her family's usurpers, still hoping for justice. For the first time in days, she felt a spark of hope. They gathered around a central holographic map, showing the surrounding territories, patrol routes, and safe zones. Liara's eyes scanned every detail. "We need to take back the capital," she said softly, determination replacing fear. "But it will require strategy, precision, and trust." Ethan studied the map too, "and it will require thinking differently. Your people have strength, yes, but humans bring something unique. We improvise, adapt, and take risks others won't. Together we could turn the tide." Liara looked at him, surprised by his confidence. You think humans can make a difference?" "I know humans can make a difference," Ethan replied firmly. "We're not just muscle or luck. We analyze, we predict, we innovate, and sometimes we do what seems impossible." Over the next few days, Liara and Ethan worked closely with the rebels. Ethan's approach was unconventional. He suggested traps and diversions the Zetherians had never considered, using natural terrain, light patterns, and timing to outsmart the enemy rather than relying on direct combat. At first, the rebels were skeptical, but as they saw the results, drones lured into false traps, patrols diverted by clever maneuvers, they began to respect the humans' ingenuity. Liara observed all of this quietly. Every time Ethan suggested a tactic, he explained it clearly, ensuring everyone understood the reasoning. It wasn't just brute force, he was teaching them how to think differently. For the first time, she realized that humans could be more than allies. They could be leaders, strategists, and problem solvers. One evening, as they planned their next move, Liara approached Ethan. "I never imagined a human could be so capable," she admitted, her voice soft. "Back home, we always underestimated humans. We thought you were weak, unpredictable, insignificant." Ethan looked at her with a small, wry smile. "Humans are many things, yes. Weak, strong, reckless, careful. But one thing is constant: we survive. And when we care about someone or something, we fight for it in ways no one expects." Liara nodded slowly. "I see that now, and I trust you, Ethan. More than I have trusted anyone outside my family." Ethan's expression softened. "And I trust you, Liara. Not because you're a princess, but because you're brave, clever, and willing to face danger to protect your people. That's what matters." Their bond deepened as they trained with the rebels. Ethan taught them how to use human-style ambushes, how to combine technology with instinct, and how to anticipate enemy moves. Liara contributed crucial knowledge of the Empire's weaknesses, secret passages, and patrol schedules. Together, human intuition and Zetherian knowledge created a plan unlike anything the usurpers expected. During one training session, an alarm suddenly rang across the outpost. Sensors had detected movement outside. Ethan and Liara immediately took charge, coordinating defenses. While the rebels prepared weapons, Ethan and Liara led a small team outside to investigate. Through the tall, glowing grass, they saw a group of enemy scouts approaching. Ethan signaled the team to hold position. Then, with precise timing, he used a combination of light reflections and sound diversions to confuse the scouts, leading them into a natural trap Ethan had noticed earlier, a rocky ravine that could slow or contain them. Liara watched in awe as humans' unpredictable thinking turned the odds in their favor. "They're clever," she whispered. "Your kind thinks differently than ours, and that difference, it's powerful." Ethan glanced at her, smiling faintly. "Different doesn't mean weaker. Sometimes it's what saves lives." By the end of the day, the scouts had been neutralized without serious harm, and the rebels were buzzing with admiration for Ethan's tactics. Liara stood beside him, feeling a mixture of pride and relief. She had seen humans underestimate themselves for centuries, but now she understood that their courage, adaptability, and creativity were extraordinary. That night, as the group settled into the outpost, Liara and Ethan sat outside, watching Xylar 7's twin moons rise over the horizon. The glow of the alien plants reflected on their faces, creating an almost magical scene. "You've taught me a lot, Ethan," Liara said softly. "Not just about humans, about trust, courage, and hope." Ethan looked at her thoughtfully. "And you've reminded me why we fight. Not for glory, not for conquest, but to protect those who can't protect themselves. That's what makes humans more than just survivors. That's what makes us heroes in our own way." Liara's gaze softened. "I never expected a human to save me, to teach me, to inspire me. I thought my world was all I knew. But now I see that humans can be extraordinary." Ethan nodded. "Extraordinary, yes, but we're also ordinary in many ways. We make mistakes. We face fear, but we try. And when we try, amazing things can happen." Liara smiled faintly, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt in days. For the first time since her capture, she believed not only in survival but in the possibility of victory. And she believed in humans, especially the one standing beside her. The bond between the human and the alien princess was no longer tentative. It was real, built on shared danger, mutual respect, and the knowledge that courage, loyalty, and ingenuity could bridge species, worlds, and expectations. As the first light of dawn bathed the alien valley in gold, Ethan and Liara prepared for the next phase of their journey, finding more allies, gathering resources, and planning a counterstrike against the forces that had overthrown her family. Together, they were stronger than either had been alone. Together, they represented something new, a symbol of hope, trust, and the extraordinary potential of humans and Zetherians working as one. And as the planet awakened around them, Liara realized that the story of her survival and of human courage was only just beginning. The rebel outpost was quiet as dawn broke over the jagged cliffs of Xylar 7, the pale light glinting off metallic structures and glowing alien vegetation. Captain Ethan Rylan and Princess Liara had spent the night reviewing the maps and planning their next move. The time had come for them to think bigger, not just survival but action. "We can't just hide anymore," Liara said, her voice firm. "The usurpers will continue consolidating power, capturing more of my people, destroying hope. We need a counterstrike, a plan to reclaim the capital and restore order." Ethan nodded, scanning the holographic map in front of them. "Agreed. But we need to combine your knowledge of the Empire with human adaptability. Their defenses are strong, but their patterns are predictable once you know what to look for." Liara studied him carefully. "You really think humans can make a difference in something so complex?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans make a difference every day. We improvise, we adapt, and we find solutions where others see none. If we work together, we can give your people a chance to win." The two of them gathered the rebels, explaining their plan. Liara would provide intelligence on patrol routes, security weaknesses, and internal politics. Ethan would adapt human strategies, ambushes, diversions, and coordinated strikes, turning the predictable structure of the Empire against itself. At first, the rebels were skeptical. Humans were unknown to them, and while Ethan had proven himself capable in the field, leading an entire counterstrike was a far greater challenge. But his confidence, calm reasoning, and demonstrated skill began to sway them. "We'll need teams for different objectives," Ethan said. "One group to disable communications, another to secure supply routes, and a final strike team for the central palace." Liara added, "And timing will be everything. If we act too early or too late, the usurpers will crush us." Ethan's human intuition complemented her knowledge. "Exactly. But we can use unpredictability to our advantage. Humans often succeed because we do what the enemy doesn't expect. They think in patterns. We break the patterns." The rebels worked tirelessly, preparing equipment, securing weapons, and practicing maneuvers. Ethan taught them techniques humans used in guerrilla warfare. Simple but effective strategies that relied on creativity, timing, and teamwork rather than sheer force. Liara observed, impressed by how the rebels adapted quickly to his instructions. During a break, Liara turned to Ethan. "You're thinking, it's different. Humans see possibilities we never consider. You notice gaps, weaknesses, and opportunities where my people see none. Ethan shrugged. Humans survive by noticing the small things, by improvising when plans fail. And when we care about someone or something, we push further than most expect. You've already inspired me, Liara. Now it's time to inspire them. As the sun climbed higher, scouts returned with reports. The usurpers had increased patrols near the capital, unaware that a coordinated attack was forming. Ethan reviewed the intel, comparing it to Liara's knowledge. We have enough information. Now we create distractions and divide their attention. That's when our teams strike. Liara nodded. We'll need decoys, timing, and precise coordination. I trust your humans' way of thinking to see what we can't. Over the next few days, they rehearsed the plan, testing tactics in controlled exercises across the valley and nearby ridges. Ethan's unconventional methods, tricking patrol drones with reflective light patterns, using terrain to slow enemy vehicles, and creating false trails, proved highly effective. Liara and the rebels adapted quickly, realizing that human intuition could complement their knowledge in ways they had never imagined. Late one night, while reviewing the final steps, an alarm suddenly sounded. The scanners picked up a small force approaching the outpost. Ethan motioned for silence and peered into the darkness. Likely scouts. We need to test a small ambush tactic. Liara followed silently as Ethan led a team toward the approaching enemies. They set a few clever traps using rocks, shadows, and sound diversions. As the scouts moved forward, Ethan gave a subtle signal. The rocks tumbled, lights flashed, and the sound echoes created confusion. The scouts stumbled into the trap, incapacitated without serious injury. Liara watched silently, astonished. Your creativity. It's astonishing. Humans don't just fight. They manipulate the environment, think ahead, and use imagination as a weapon. Ethan smiled faintly. We learn from experience, and we never assume there's only one way. Every problem has a solution if you look at it differently. With morale high, the final preparation began. The teams were assigned specific roles, disabling communications, securing supply routes, and executing the main strike on the palace. Liara's presence as the rightful heir boosted confidence. While Ethan's human perspective added unpredictability, the enemy could never anticipate. On the eve of the counterstrike, Ethan and Liara stood outside the outpost, watching the twin moons rise over the cliffs. The air was tense yet full of determination. You know, Liara said softly, I never imagined humans could be so reliable, courageous, and inventive. I underestimated your kind for too long. Ethan chuckled. Humans often underestimate themselves too. But when it matters, we rise to the challenge. And right now it matters. Liara's eyes softened. I trust you, Ethan. More than anyone I've known outside my family. And I hope my people will see humans as I see you now. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. They will. But right now we focus on tomorrow. The plan is solid, but success will depend on courage, timing, and trust. Trust in each other, and in the unexpected. As the first light of dawn broke, the teams moved into position. Ethan oversaw the coordination, ensuring each group understood their objectives. Liara's guidance and insight provided crucial context, allowing the human strategies to blend seamlessly with Cytherian knowledge. The approach to the capital was tense. Patrols were heavier than expected, and the terrain was challenging. Yet the rebels executed Ethan's plans flawlessly, using the terrain, shadows, and distractions to their advantage. Human unpredictability, combined with Liara's intimate knowledge of the Empire, created a series of small victories along the way. Scouts diverted, communications disabled, and supply lines disrupted. Finally, the moment arrived for the main strike team to enter the palace. Ethan and Liara led the group, moving silently through corridors and using intelligence gathered over days of planning. The guards, trained to expect standard tactics, were confused by the unconventional movements and human-style improvisation. Every decision, every step relied on trust and coordination. Liara felt a surge of confidence. For the first time since her capture, she felt in control, not as a captive but as a leader. And beside her, Ethan remained calm, observant, and focused. A human whose ingenuity turned the impossible into achievable steps. As they reached the palace control center, Ethan disabled a set of automated defenses using tools the rebels had prepared. Liara entered the command interface, overriding security systems and opening gates for the main rebel forces. Together, human and alien minds worked seamlessly, accomplishing what neither could have done alone. From a hidden observation deck, the rebel leaders watched in awe. Humans had changed the course of events with intuition, adaptability, and fearless action. Zitherians who had doubted the human species now saw them as indispensable partners, capable of leading and inspiring. When the palace was finally under their control, Liara turned to Ethan. "We did it. Together." Ethan shook his head, smiling. "No, you did it. I just helped guide the way. Humans are good at surviving and adapting, yes. But you inspired everyone here to fight for hope, for justice, and for what's right." Liara's silver lavender eyes shimmered with gratitude and awe. "I never imagined a human could do all this, or that humans could be such an essential part of my world. I will never underestimate your kind again." Ethan placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "And I will never underestimate you, Liara. Courage and determination aren't limited to one species. Today proved that." As the sun rose fully over the reclaimed palace, the rebels celebrated quietly. The counterstrike was a success, but the real victory was the bond between human and Zitherian, the understanding that trust, ingenuity, and courage could bridge worlds. Liara looked around at her people, at the rebels, and finally at Ethan. "Humans, your kind can be extraordinary when you choose to be," she said softly. Ethan smiled. "And so can Zitherians, especially those willing to trust the unexpected. Together, we're unstoppable." For the first time in weeks, Liara felt hope, not just for herself but for her people, her world, and the future of interspecies alliances. The path ahead was still challenging, but with humans and Zitherians working together, no obstacle seemed insurmountable. And as they stood there overlooking the reclaimed capital, both Ethan and Liara realized that their journey was far from over, but they had proven one undeniable truth. Courage, trust, and human ingenuity could change the course of even the most impossible situations. The twin suns of Xylar 7 rose slowly over the reclaimed palace, bathing the towering spires in golden light. Princess Liara stood at the balcony, overlooking the capital that had been under the control of the usurpers for far too long. For the first time in weeks, a sense of calm filled the air, but both she and Captain Ethan Ryland knew the final challenge was yet to come. "The usurpers won't give up easily," Liara said quietly, her silver lavender eyes scanning the horizon. "They will rally their forces, strike back, and try to take everything from us again." Ethan nodded, standing beside her. "Then we act before they can regroup. Timing, precision, and coordination will determine everything. Humans and Zitherians working together can be unstoppable if we stay clever and united." Liara looked at him, a mixture of gratitude and determination in her eyes. "I trust you, Ethan. Your kind has proven itself beyond anything I imagined. Today, we finish this together." The rebel teams moved quickly. Ethan coordinated each squad, combining human improvisation with Liara's knowledge of Zitherian tactics. They used every advantage the city offered: narrow alleys for ambushes, tall buildings for observation, and hidden passageways Liara remembered from her youth. As the main forces advanced, Ethan's human ingenuity became crucial. Small diversions were set up to confuse enemy scouts. Energy fields were bypassed using unconventional methods, and drones were turned against their operators with clever manipulations. Every move was calculated yet unpredictable, demonstrating why humans were capable of extraordinary feats even in alien worlds. Inside the palace, Liara led a team to secure the command center. Her heart pounded, but her mind was steady. Years of training, combined with her recent experiences with humans, had made her more confident than ever. With Ethan at her side, her decisions were swift and decisive. The usurper forces, though numerous and well-trained, were unprepared for the combination of alien knowledge and human creativity. Patrols were misled, reinforcements delayed, and key positions neutralized without unnecessary conflict. Each time an enemy tried to counterattack, Ethan anticipated their moves, improvising diversions and traps that allowed the rebels to gain ground safely. At a critical point, the usurper commander appeared, flanked by elite guards. Liara froze for only a moment before stepping forward. "This ends now," she declared, her voice firm and unwavering. The humans and rebels behind her formed a protective line, ready to follow her orders. Ethan gave her a reassuring glance. "We've got this. Trust your instincts. They brought you this far. And remember, humans will always cover your back. With a combination of clever tactics and coordinated strikes, the team advanced. Ethan guided the rebels through unexpected routes, avoiding direct confrontation when possible. Using light manipulation, sound diversions, and the environment itself, they created openings that allowed Liara to confront the commander directly. The confrontation was brief, but decisive. Liara's authority, combined with the rebels' support and Ethan's guidance, forced the usurper commander to surrender. His elite guards followed suit, realizing that resistance was futile against such a united and unpredictable force. As the palace fell under control, Liara turned to the gathered rebels and citizens who had survived under oppression. "The empire belongs to its people," she declared, her voice strong and proud. "We rebuild not through fear, but through unity, courage, and trust. And we honor those who stood with us when hope seemed lost." Her gaze found Ethan, standing slightly apart from the main crowd, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the jubilation around him. Liara stepped forward, addressing the people and her ally. "This human, Captain Ethan Rylan, risked his life to save me, to guide us, and to prove that courage and determination are not limited to one species. Humanity has shown us strength, ingenuity, and compassion beyond what we imagined. Let this day mark the beginning of a new alliance, one built on respect, trust, and shared courage." The crowd erupted in applause, Zetherians and humans alike cheering the heroism of one human who had defied expectations. Ethan's calm expression shifted to a small, humble smile. He had never sought recognition. He acted because it was right, because survival and hope mattered more than fame. Liara approached him, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "You've changed the way my people see humans, Ethan. Your courage and insight have saved my life and the lives of countless others." "And I cannot thank you enough." Ethan shook his head, smiling. "No thanks needed. You did the hard part, Liara. Humans help, yes, but you inspired everyone to fight. Your bravery turned the tide. I just helped light the path." Liara's eyes reflected a deep admiration. "You are more than I ever imagined a human could be. My people will never forget this day, or the truth about your kind." The celebration continued, but Ethan and Liara remained near the balcony, overlooking the capital. The city was quiet now, its streets filled with citizens cautiously stepping out, free for the first time in years. Smoke from minor skirmishes still lingered, but the sense of liberation was overwhelming. Ethan broke the silence. "This is just the beginning. Rebuilding won't be easy. You'll need allies, resources, and guidance. Humans can help with that too, if you allow it." Liara nodded. "I will. I want humans and Zetherians to work together, not just in war, but in peace. We can learn from each other, grow stronger together, and ensure that no one underestimates either of us again." Their bond, forged in danger and strengthened by trust, symbolized a new era. Humans were no longer outsiders, they were heroes, capable of changing the course of history even in alien worlds. And Liara had learned that courage, loyalty, and ingenuity transcended species. As the day wore on, leaders from the rebel factions and citizens gathered to pledge their loyalty to the restored empire. Liara spoke to each group, emphasizing unity, respect, and the lessons learned from their ordeal. She ensured that humans were recognized not as tools, but as equals who had played an essential role in the liberation. Later, in a quiet moment, Liara and Ethan walked through the palace gardens. The air was fragrant with alien blooms, and sunlight danced across the crystalline structures. Liara paused, turning to him. "You've done more than save me, Ethan. You've changed the way my world sees humanity. You've shown us that bravery, creativity, and compassion are universal, and that humans can be trusted, respected, and admired." Ethan smiled. "And you've shown me that courage isn't limited to any one species. Your leadership, determination, and vision inspired all of us. Humans can only follow where leaders like you guide the way." Liara's eyes glimmered. "Then let us continue together. Humans and Zetherians side by side, facing challenges, building trust, and proving that cooperation can achieve the impossible." Ethan nodded. "Side by side," he agreed. "No challenge too great, no enemy too strong, and no world too alien." As the sun set over the capital, casting long golden shadows, the human and the alien princess stood together, knowing that the journey ahead would be filled with challenges. But they also knew that together, courage, ingenuity, and trust could overcome any obstacle. The story of survival, bravery, and unexpected heroism had reached its first great triumph. Humanity had proven itself not as outsiders or weak beings, but as capable, resourceful allies who could inspire and protect, even in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Liara glanced at Ethan, her expression one of gratitude and determination. This is just the beginning, my friend. Together, we will ensure that hope and courage guide our worlds, and that humans will always have a place among those who fight for justice and life. Ethan chuckled softly. I think humans can live with that responsibility, he said. And I'm proud to stand beside you, Liara, not as a savior, but as a partner, a friend, and a believer in what humans and Zetherians can achieve together. And as night fell over the capital, the stars of Xylar 7 sparkled like jewels in the sky. The humans and Zetherians celebrated their victory, but more importantly, they celebrated a bond, an alliance forged through courage, trust, and mutual respect. The legacy of that day would be remembered for generations. A human had saved an alien princess, inspired a world, and proven that heroism knows no species. And somewhere deep in the galaxy, new alliances began to form, built on the truth that when humans and aliens work together, impossible challenges can become triumphs. The story had reached its conclusion, but the impact would echo across the stars forever.